All right, chapter 9. Chapter 9, we're going to talk a lot about three-dimensional shapes, talk about solids. We're going to talk about prisms, cones, cylinders, pyramids, lots of different stuff. The technical term for our three-dimensional objects that we're going to talk about is called a polyhedron. Okay, and what a polyhedron is, it's just a solid that's made up by polygons. Okay, so as you can see in this, all around this, it's a whole bunch of polygons that make up this polyhedron. All the polygons that are in there are called faces. So we call those faces. The edges are the lines that are used to intersect all of the different polygons that make it up. So those are our edges. And then we have a vertex. We actually, in this case, we have a whole bunch of vertices. Okay, anytime we have three different spots that come together, we have a vertices. So in this case, we have a whole bunch of different places. Okay, the plural of a polyhedron is a polyhedra or polyhedrons. Plural of a vertex is vertices, just so that you understand some of those different things that we are talking about. Okay, so we look at which of the solids are polyhedra. Remember that it has to be bounded by polygons. So obviously a prism, because all of those make up polygons. Also a pyramid. They might not all be the same shape, which is okay. A cone actually is not a polyhedra, because if you look at this right here, and you look at the net of this, this isn't going to be a polygon at all, nor is it going to work with a cylinder. We do have circles for the bases, but when we go around there, that's not going to be a polygon. Okay, and a sphere also isn't going to be a polyhedra. Okay, so our polyhedra are our prisms and our pyramids. All right, next thing that it asks is how many faces, edges, and vertices does the pyramid have? So we check out this pyramid, and going around it, it's kind of hard to see, but it's got 4 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, that go around it, plus it's got that base on the bottom. So really the pyramid has 5 faces. The edges are these things. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got to go around the edges and see them. So 5, 6, 7, 8 edges. And vertices, we have going around here, we've got 1 vertice, 2, 3, 4, and then one up here on top is going to give us 5 vertices. Okay, and then it asks us about the prism, so we got to check out the prism too. I'm going to do the prism one over here. Okay, as far as faces go, we are looking at 1, 2, and 3 squares that go around it, plus we've got 2 triangles, so that gives us 5 faces. When we look at our edges that we've got 1, 2, 3 edges there, 3 edges down on the bottom, and then we've got an edge here, an edge back there, and an edge back there. So that gives us actually 9 edges. Whereas when we do our vertices, I'm checking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 vertices. Okay, so you have to be careful with when you're counting those that you get all of them. Okay? Difference between prisms and pyramids. Okay, so we got to use the base shape when we're naming these things. Okay, prisms have 2 parallel bases. So in this case, we've got our bases are going to be our triangles. Okay, and then we're using rectangles that go around it. Okay, so the difference between that is prisms has 2 parallel bases, whereas a pyramid has 1 base and then it connects up on the top at a point. Okay, you're always going to have triangles. They're always going to be triangles for your sides, whereas your base will be something different. Okay, so when we're naming these things, okay, we've got on the bottom is a rectangle, Okay, so our bases are rectangles, and then we've got two rectangles that are parallel to each other. Therefore, it's a rectangular prism. Okay, in this case, our bases are going to be triangles because those are the two that are parallel to each other, our top triangle and our bottom triangle. So that is going to be a triangular prism. In this case, if I've got squares on the bottom, anytime I have a square prism, we're going to call that a cube. Okay, so in this case, our squares are the ones that are going to be on the bottom. It also makes squares all the way around, so that's going to be a square prism. Okay, when we talk about pyramids, we also name pyramids by its base. Okay, so if I have a square base and it comes up into a point at the top, that's going to be a square pyramid. Whereas if I have a triangle as a base and it comes up to a point at the top, that's a triangular pyramid. Did I say square pyramid over here? I hope so. Okay, and right here, this base is a pentagon because it's got 5 different sides, so that makes it a pentagonal pyramid. Okay, and then the 3 that don't necessarily fit in up here, if I have circles as bases, basically a circular prism is going to be called a cylinder. Okay, if I have a circle as a base and it comes up as a point, it's going to be called a cone. And if I have a circle here and a circle all around it, that is going to be my sphere. Okay, so if we look at this shape right here, we've got to count the sides of the base, which is 5, and then it comes up into a point. Therefore, it's going to be a pentagonal pyramid. Okay, if we check out that other page that you just took notes on, this one is going to be a cone. And here, this is showing that all 4 sides are equal, so we have a square pyramid. Okay, this time my bases are triangles, so I can right away call it triangular. And since I have 2 parallel bases, it is going to be a triangular prism. Okay, a couple of slides ago we saw that if I have a circle as a base and it is a prism, we are going to call it a cylinder. Okay, and here we have a triangle on the bottom, so right away I can go triangular. And then since it comes up and meets in a point right there, we are going to call it a triangular pyramid. Okay, same thing here. This one's a little trickier because we really need to find the 2 parallel bases, whereas if I call this a base right here, I've got it wrong because there's nothing that's parallel to it. Whereas if I check this out right here, I've got a triangle here, and I've got a triangle back here behind it that are parallel to each other. So even though it's up on its side, this needs to be a triangular prism because I do have 2 parallel bases that are triangles. Okay, and then I have rectangles that go around it. In this case, we have to count the sides again, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe. And so with 6, we're going a hexagonal, comes up to a point, therefore it is a hexagonal pyramid. Okay, and again, we have a base that's a square, so we're calling it a square, and then if we go up on top, it's going to be a square prism. Okay, and just 2 more. This one is an awful lot like this one where it's up on its side. If I take a look at this one, again, my 2 parallel bases is going to be this pentagon and the pentagon in the back. So this is actually going to be a pentagonal. This is going to be a prism. Okay, so make sure you look for the 2 sides that are parallel to each other, not necessarily just looking at what's on the bottom. That doesn't always work. Okay, and then if we have a 3-dimensional circle, we call it a sphere. Okay, so nothing too major this one. Okay, tomorrow, or actually on Monday when we come back from Easter break, we are going to talk about surface area of prisms and pyramids, where you're going to have to be a little bit more careful. But in this case, we're just going to name them. So you have worksheet 9.1a to do. Have fun.